Okay, hello, hello, hello. Just trying to make sure we are live.
I'm checking my Facebook page also, or let's see.
No, it's not. It didn't go live yet. Hold on, maybe. Let me reduce this real quick here. Okay. Oh, here we are. Okay, 1 second. Okay. All right. Looks like we are good to go here. Hello, everyone. Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Well, it's a little gloomy here in Michigan, but welcome, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Kabay Harrison. You are joining us for A Queen's Roundtable Show, which happens every second and fourth Sunday of the month. I bring on a phenomenal entrepreneur, and basically we just talk openly and honestly about entrepreneurship and some of the different struggles and how they handled it, how they're able to push on, how they stay inspired to continue the great work that they do. So again, my name is Jacqueline Kabay Harrison, and I am a confidence and success coach, and I work specifically with African American women that have coaching and or consulting businesses. I help them to create effective strategies to put in place to be able to eliminate negative self-doubt and those self-sabotaging behaviors that can prevent us from showing up and basically leveling up our businesses. So without further ado, I'm going to let my guest introduce herself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Anita Charlot, and I am a dating, relationship, and marriage coach for grown-ass women. I've been in business since 1999, so this is not my first rodeo. I make sure that I help women learn how to attract, maintain, and build authentic relationships based on spiritual and practical concepts.
Nice.
I'm also an Amazon best-selling author of the book, The 5 Phases of Dating, The Grown-Ass Woman's Guide to Attracting and Maintaining Authentic Relationships. And I am the CEO and founder of Relationship Architect Academy, which is the online school where grown-ass women and those that love them can go to learn more about how to maneuver and to live their lives from their truth. Based on what's really going on deep down inside, not what we project to the world, but getting down to what my mother used to call the nitty-gritty of who we are and how we tend to show up in our lives.
And that's a group. That's a monthly ongoing group, or?
Yes, it is. It currently, I am in the process of revamping. So it is a monthly membership where you can either go pay a monthly fee and you have access to the entire course library, or you can purchase the courses individually. So we're in the process of rebranding and reformatting and, retiring some courses and bringing on new courses. Me and my new team. So I'm not doing this by myself anymore, which is great. Now I get to get some sleep.
Oh, yes. That's a whole nother subject, right? Because when we first start off, we're wearing all the hats, but then as we go along, it's, we can't do it all, and
right.
we have to be able to get a virtual assistant, or like you said, put a team together, because otherwise, we can't continue to juggle all those and still do what we do.
Right.
So good. Excellent.
Right.
I'm pulling up my form now.
Okay.
So I was going to say, tell us what's your purpose. I know you've been doing this since 99. Wow. So what's the why behind why you do what you do?
Okay. Great question. I love telling this story. So I was in an abusive marriage.
Oh.
And I walked away from that marriage, thank goodness, in 96. And so as I tried to find someone that I could talk to that really understood what I was going through, but not only just talk to, but that they can give me, tips and tricks and things that they use in order to grow through the pain from having experienced domestic violence, I couldn't find anyone. I talked to pastors. I talked to licensed clinical social workers. I talked to psychotherapists, psychoanalysts. I've talked to, everybody that they say you should talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always a one-way conversation, right? Because when you're a part of and this is no shade to anybody in the psychological profession, because I do believe that they serve a purpose. It just wasn't the purpose that was meant for me at the time. And it was always one way. I would go in and I would talk, and they would ask me the clinical questions. And I was like, I'm not, I need you to talk to me. I want you to talk to me, to tell me what you've gone through. But of course, they can't do that. That's not part of their profession. That's not part of, they agreed to not talk about certain things with their licensing. That wasn't working for me. So a coworker of mine recommended this woman, and she was a metaphysician. And I was like, well, I had no idea what that was. So I tried everything else. Let me go ahead and try this woman. So basically, a metaphysician, just to keep it really simple, is almost the equivalent to like a Christian minister, right? So it's a combination of like a spiritual and a spiritual minister or therapist, or what is the word I'm looking for? I can't find the word right now, but anyway, it's a combination. So what she was able to do was, when I walked into her home, because she had an in-home business, she was able to connect with the spirit of who I was, right? Not just, okay, you're, an African-American woman, because she wasn't. And, this is who you are, this is who your job is. But she knew, it's almost like she knew before I even walked through the door what I was dealing with. And she could actually see in my face the pain that I was carrying. So within 2 sessions with her, I was able to get to where just 2 sessions. The sessions were like 2.5 hours. And I had 2 of those. Within those 2 sessions, I was able to let go of a lot of things, not just from my marriage, but from my past. She was able to help me bring those things up, to see the truth in those things and the value in those lessons. And I said, okay, that's it. I need to be this.
Okay.
I need to do what she's doing. And so I got my bachelor's in metaphysics from American Institute of Holistic Theology. And I started doing what I knew best. I'd always been a person that people would come to for advice. And I was always, it seems like I'm always that person that has to experience the drama first so that I can talk other people through it. So I decided to do it. In 99, I decided to do it, just take the leap and just do it, not just for me and not just for my friends, but for as many women as I could actually reach. And I've been doing it ever since.
Wow, beautiful. Okay. All right. You know what? I have to say this. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. When you said it, I'm sitting here like, oh, okay.
I know. That's why I said no shade, because, there is a purpose. And I do believe, and there are clients of mine where we talk and I'm like, okay, right now, I think you will be better served by speaking with some, because there are topics and things that I just don't do. Right. And I'm not that type of person where I'm going to say, yeah, sure, I can help you. If I know it's not in my wheelhouse, I'm going to refer you out somewhere else, because the mind is a completely different thing. I'm dealing with spirit here. And, in conjunction with that, we do talk about things and we do exercises that I have borrowed from, the psychological profession, but I'm not professing to be a licensed clinical social worker, psychoanalyst, therapist, any of those. And while, again, I don't have anything against them, but I like to be able to share parts of my life, and I curse a lot. So that probably wouldn't be too good in a professional setting. But if I'm talking to my clients and they understand where, I'm coming from, they can be 100% themselves. And if they need to curse, then they do that, if that helps them to express themselves. But we make it through together.
Feel free to, just speak naturally, because it's all about being authentic, right?
Right.
I know ladies, she's gonna get into that later on in her topic, but I know, a lot of us, think that in order to be successful, and I don't want to veer off too much. Sometimes, for those of you that know me, sometimes I get excited and I may veer off, but I'm gonna do better. Is that sometimes you think you have to imitate other people or things have to be done a certain way, but if however you want to deliver your message, please deliver your message however you're comfortable delivering it. Now, okay,
Thank you.
So now you really piqued my interest. So tell me again, you got your undergraduate degree in what exactly?
Metaphysics.
Metaphysics, okay.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that may still have some question marks about exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me one more time. Okay, metaphysics is what all does it encompass?
Okay, so let me see if I can find a different way to explain it. So metaphysics, during metaphysics, or during my training, put it that way, we learned a lot about the self and about connecting to the spirit of who we are. We also learned, we used different books that helped us to get down and answer the deeper questions. So sometimes when you're going, and I'm speaking from experience, sometimes when I would go into, the therapist's office, they would have one topic that we were going to cover in mind, and we would always take it back to, okay, what was the situation with your parents, right? What was the situation with the parents? Yes, your parents and your environment play a big role in who you become. But for me, when it came to metaphysics, it wasn't just about who are your parents, but let's understand what your parents' experiences were so that you have an idea of why they were the way that they were, why they weren't able to love you, why they weren't able to give you, the nurturance that you needed. Sometimes it's not because they didn't want to, but that they just didn't receive it and they didn't know how to give it back to you. Okay. So it takes it a step deeper. We're looking under the covers. Metaphysics helps us to look under the covers. Okay. Having done this and having done the work on myself, I'm able to read between the lies that my clients have told themselves and that, people around them have told them. Okay. So if you tell me there is something that's going on after, I'm sure in your profession, you've had plenty of clients, you're able to identify things while you don't want to, put a label on it right away, what's coming up in your head. So, those questions to ask to bring that out. And that's exactly what I'm able to do. So someone could tell me, I'm such an honest person, and I always say what I mean, and I always tell them what I want, and I'm like, okay, well, let's dig a little deeper. What does that mean? Okay. And I use this example in my book too. If you're saying you want someone who's honest, okay, then we all have a general idea of what honesty means. But let's think about that. What does honesty could mean something completely different to you than it means to me. So then we get deeper, we go deeper. What does that mean? How does that show up? If someone were to come in your space and didn't say I was honest, how would you know that they were honest, right? Okay. So one particular example is a client said, well, everybody knows what honesty means. I was like, okay, well, tell me, what does it mean to you? Well, it means if I ask you if there's something going on, then you tell me what's going on. I was like, okay, a little bit more. If I ask you if there's something wrong, then you don't tell me that everything is fine, and I know that there's something wrong. I said, okay, well, how about this? What if you were to look for, so how can you identify that? Well, if they don't say anything, then I know that they're not an honest person. I was like, that's not necessarily true. That person can be honest, but what you're looking for, I think, is an individual who is not only in touch with their feelings, but is able to openly articulate those feelings to you. Okay. And they're like, That's right. That's right. That's what I want. I said, well, if you look at it and you get down to the definition that way, then you're able to determine whether or not someone in your dating space is going to have this capability before you get too far down the road with them.
Okay.
And your heart is hurt later because you say that they don't open up. Well, if you knew what you were looking for initially, then you wouldn't have to worry about that because you could see it in the beginning and decide whether or not you wanted to go down that road. So metaphysics helps me to dig deeper.
Okay.
It helps me to get to the deeper questions. It helps me to help my clients uncover what's really underneath whatever that pain, whatever that frustration is. And then it helps them to see where not necessarily where they were wrong, but how they may have contributed to the situation and what they can do once they understand how they contributed to it, or how they asked for one thing but they really meant something else. Mm-hmm. Then they could change that and they can have, better success going forward. Metaphysics also includes like a spiritual aspect, and by spiritual depends on what your beliefs are. So if you are a Christian, then I can talk to you about and use specific examples from the Bible. If you're not religious, Bible-based, and I can talk to you in universal terms. I can talk to you in spiritual terms. But I do offer my clients, and I think this is something that has been a game changer for me, where I provide my clients, typically we say, oh, you should pray about it, or think positive, right? Well, that's great, and it sounds good, but when a person is in the middle of their pain, they need something to do. So I have what I call my spiritual toolbox, where I have different exercises and tools to help them physically burn off that energy, working through those things, whether it's a writing exercise. Sometimes I'll give movies as a homework assignment if, the message is in the movie and that person is, more of a visual person. So I really get to know what type of person they are and what's going to reach them. So that is, for me, that's all encompassing, and it tends to bring home the lesson because it's not just coming from me, right, but it's also coming from those other avenues. And then they get to dig deeper on their own when they do their homework.
Yeah, I love it. So you provide your services on an individual basis as well as a group?
Yes.
Okay. And now is it all online or online and in person?
It's online and in person.
Okay. Wonderful. So what are we now, about 15 minutes in, and we done dug deep. I love it. So let me back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about like how you grew up, where you grew up. I know you're in Illinois, somewhere in Illinois. But tell us a little bit about, like, did you grow up there? Do you have a lot of brothers and sisters?
Sure. I grew up, it was just the four of us. It was me, my mom, my brother, and my dad. I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. I don't know if a lot of people heard of it. It's not Inglewood. It's Roseland. I grew up there, and I was the only kid in my neighborhood that went to Catholic high school. So that was different. My mom, was an entrepreneur. She owned a salon, and my dad was a supervisor for, it was called Hunt and Wesson now. It's called Beatrice Foods. So I grew up watching my dad carry a briefcase, and he was coming and going, and I went to work with him a couple of times, and he seemed to be so important, right? So my corporate side is from my dad. Okay. But my entrepreneurial side is from my mom, because she got to set her own hours. She got to work with the people she wanted to work with. She can tell, her clients, this is the last time I'm going to do your hair, if they will, getting out of line. So I have, the combination of my mom and dad within me. Now, my brother was 14 years older than me, so he wasn't really like a brother. He was like an uncle that would tell on me all the time. So, we didn't really see eye to eye as brother and sister. So life was good. I was a latchkey kid. I did a lot of things by myself. My brother was 14 years older, so he was out of the house. So for me, the way that my mind is set up and my energy is set up is that I am actually an introvert. So I gain energy and I feel much better when I'm by myself, right? Now I can be an extrovert when I need to be, but a lot of noise and a lot of people and all that have to, when I go back to my room, if I'm doing a speaking engagement, I go back to my room, it's like, oh my God, you know, I just don't have anything on. I just need to regain my energy. But having been by myself and having been that person who does gains her energy by being alone, that has caused me to I love, you know, writing. I love connecting with people. I am the person that would always, you know, people would always come to because I'm listening more, right? I learned at a young age that being an active listener was a good thing. And it made people feel seen, it made people feel heard, and I was all about people pleasing, okay? Initially, it was about people pleasing. Now it's a trait that I realize helps me to connect with my clients, okay? So as life went on, I had my first son, and then I had my second son. With my second son, my ex-husband, that was the marriage that I experienced that wasn't very healthy. And so after that, I decided that I didn't want anybody else to experience what I had experienced. Now, there were signs that I saw that I overlooked. There were times when I tried to back out of the marriage, you know, getting married, but listening to, you know, other people and, oh, you know, you're just getting cold feet. I went against what I knew my gut was telling me. And my gut was right. I should have followed, you know, my first, second, and third mind instead of, you know, letting the fourth mind win. But I realize now, you know, once I grew through it, I realized that all of that took place so that I could be the woman that I am today, so that I could have had the experiences that I've had, so that when I'm talking to other women about making sure you select the right person, now I can talk about, you know, making sure that you're selecting the right partner based on what your life goals are. Because there's a different kind of partner that you need to have in your life if you want to just follow what I call the traditional marriage, you know, want to have children and you just want to be there for your family. And if you want to have that, plus you want to own a business.
Right.
There's a different type of, you know, different type of man that you need to have in your corner for that. And so helping women get real clear on what they want for their life, the quality of life and the quality of love that they want, and then helping them identify what type of person that is based on their truth is what is my passion. I absolutely love doing it. I love telling all my business too, right? Because I think that the best way for people to learn is, you know, by example.
Mm-hmm.
And so I share a lot of my personal life so that other women can see I'm normal. I have problems, you know, I have issues. I'm having hot flashes. So now I'm on this whole, you know, mindful menopause for grown ass woman kick. They need to know. They need to know. And so who else better to tell them than, if no one else is going to tell them, then they're going to hear it from me.
Right. I like that.
You got to stop me, girl, because I can go.
Oh, I love it. You know, I love it. I mean, I think this is wonderful. I mean, isn't it wonderful actually doing something that you feel so passionate about?
Yes.
You know, because I think, and this comes up every time, not every time, every other time, about like people pleasing and, you know, doing things because we feel that that's expected.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I like how you drew the distinction between if you want to have, you know, like really deciding what it is that you want, then those are two totally different paths, like in terms of choosing a mate.
Right.
As far as like doing the, you know, typical, you know,
Mm-hmm.
get married, you know, buy a home, have 2.5 kids and a dog,
right.
and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then how it takes a totally different type of person, right, to actually, you know that you want to own a business, know that you want that or some, you know, pieces of that, as well as having your own business, you know, and it because it's a mindset. You know, what I've learned is that this whole entrepreneurial journey is a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just think that that's wonderful. I mean, I think it's wonderful that, you know, you're there to assist women, down this path, and to help them gain that clarity and to stand in their truth. And I think it's wonderful for people to be able to hear this and know that you don't have to wake up every day and just go to a job. You know what I mean? That it's possible to actually make a good living by doing something that lights you up on the inside. It's not that wake up in the morning, that clock go off, and it's like, remember that old commercial, like time to make the donuts,
Yes,
this
yes,
like dragging his feet or whatever.
yes.
That you can live a life where you feel you are living out your purpose, and it's just, and not is to say everything is going to be rosy, y'all. I'm not saying that, but that it's attainable to be able to do something that you love and to be able to make a life for yourself doing that.
Right.
And I can see by you, even just when you start to talk, I can see how passionate you are about that.
I love this.
And I love that.
I absolutely love it. The thing that I also help my clients to see, especially those that are entrepreneurial minded, is that you can have both worlds. You can work in corporate and still have your own thing. But again, that takes a special kind of person to be in your corner to allow you to have that. I know women who completely love what they do, love their jobs, and they don't want to walk away from their jobs, but they want to do something that feeds their passion. We can do that. You can do that. Women like me who are I'm still doing I can't say 9 to 5 because it's like a 6 to 4 at this point. And I've reached the pinnacle of my career, but this is my last job. I'm not, this will be it. When I leave this one, I'll be going into my thing full time. But right now, this one pays the bills and foots the infrastructure for the business. So sometimes people, and I did this before, which is why I can say this, I walked away from corporate America thinking, oh, I got this, I get this many followers on Facebook, I have, all these likes and stuff, and thinking that was gonna sustain my life, but it didn't. Okay. I walked away from a corporate job that was extremely stressful. It was making me sick, and I was like, okay, it's time to walk away. But I didn't have a plan. Okay. I didn't have an exit strategy, right? So now, as I am back in corporate America, I'm building my plan, right? I'm building. You have to build. You have to know what you're doing. You have to prepare for it so that when you do decide to make that transition, it's not as hard, right? It's still going to be challenging because as an entrepreneur, you don't really know unless you have a consistent recurring income, right? Either a membership or a monthly coaching program where people are coming in and paying every month. You still don't know, and you're always on the grind. Right. So the same grind that I'm doing now, where I have the day job, and then I come home and, on lunch, I'm recording podcasts, and on the train in, I'm doing my daily post. For me, I've been doing it that way for so long. I don't know what I would, if I had a full 24 hours or a full 8 to 10 hours that I could focus solely on my business, girl, please. Do you know? Honey, let me tell you right now, it would be phenomenal. But I learned from my mistakes. Okay. And I know what that looks like. And I know now what I didn't know then. And I've gotten the proper training, and I've gotten the proper coaching. I've done what I need to do to set myself up for success. And that's what we all need to do, whether it is, we want to be a parent and want to be a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. Hats off to stay-at-home moms. I could not do it.
Yeah, me either.
My hats go off to stay-at-home moms. I could not. I need adult interaction and conversation. I can't handle the screaming and screeching. I just can't do that. But if that's what you want to do, then that's great. But here's the thing, a stay-at-home mom can still be making money and providing a service to other people. Yeah. Right? Because she knows what she's doing to manage her home. Yeah. And so she could create, checklists and tips and tricks. She can do, morning motivations. I'm not trying to, build entrepreneurs out of everybody, but it is possible. It doesn't matter what your life looks like. If you're enjoying it and you're having a great time, there's someone that can learn from you out there.
Yep, I totally agree. So let me let me kind of ask you a couple more questions, and because I want you to be able to dive into your topic. So I'll name a couple, and you can just decide how you want to, which one you want to answer first. And I'm pretty sure they probably intertwine. But I always like to ask, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I always like to ask, what major challenges have you had in your life, whether it's personal or professional, and how you, like I said, I think you might have touched on a couple of things, but and how you handled that so it didn't like totally, cause you to lose your motivation,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you practice good self-care on a regular basis?
Okay. I'll take them in order.
Okay.
Some of the challenges that I've experienced, one would be being a single mom and
Oh,
trying to raise, two boys, especially after having walked away from my marriage, having to experience that, right? Because there's a certain part of being an abused wife that you don't want other people to see. Like, I disconnected from my friends and everything. I would always come up with an excuse as to why not to hang out with them. Not because I didn't love them, not because he didn't want me to hang out with them, but because I couldn't be around my friends and be happy and be jovial when that wasn't, where I was in my life. So growing through that was a huge challenge. If you get my book, again, I told you I love telling everybody my business. If in the book, I talk about the fact that when I walked away from my marriage, I walked away from men altogether. I
okay.
walked away from men. I walked away from God because he was male. I walked away from anything that represented a man because I was in pain. And I could not believe that I was angry at God, right? I was like, how dare you, have me marry this man? And I stood before you, and my father was gone by that time. My brother was gone. So there were no men in my life to kick his butt for me and, to make things right. So I decided, okay, this isn't everybody's way, but I decided, well, since that didn't work out, then I'm going to try dating women. But why not? Women know women. And one woman would never abuse another woman. That's not true. When I got on that side, I recognized it, and moving around in that environment, I recognized that there are so many similarities in relationships, regardless of the gender, but the mental and emotional challenges that present themselves in relationships were very, very similar. And where there was, I had experienced domestic violence on this side, I experienced like cheating and infidelity on this side. I was like, wait a minute, what is this? What is happening here? And so, me being an overachiever, me being a person that I'm not a quitter. So you know how they say that they roamed in the wilderness for 40 years. Well, I was roaming for 14 years. And during that time, I was really getting clear on, and it was easy for me, and this is where, the book came from. It was easy for me to talk to men because I didn't want anything from them. And they knew that they weren't going to get anything from me. So they were honest with me about their interactions with women. So basically, I did 14 years of research.
Okay.
Right? So they were honest with me about, women and how they behave in relationships and why they feel they can get away with certain things, with women, what gave them the signs, how they could pick these women out in the club, at church, at the grocery store. Yes, they were spilling
We're
the
gonna have to
tea.
have a conversation. I know other women are gonna be like, wait a minute, she got to put her email in here or something.
They were spilling the tea because I was not a threat, right? And I didn't want anything from them. So that helped me to recognize during that time, not dating men, what that helped me to do is recognize those things within myself.
Okay.
And I was like, oh man, no wonder.
Okay.
Because I asked one ex of mine, he was so disrespectful. He was just so, and I was, I kept going back because I'm like, okay, if I love him hard enough, then he'll treat me better. And I asked him, I said, why do you treat me like that? He said, because you let me. Yeah.
Simple as that, huh?
As simple as that. I was like, oh. So throughout those 14 years of research, I learned a lot about me, how I showed up, how I attracted the abuser in my life, how and why I married, him instead of walking away. I learned a lot about how other people's influence, if you allow that to come in, how it could have you make decisions or influence you to make decisions that you wouldn't normally make. And then throughout this whole 14-year process, I had been in a 4-year relationship. And then this infidelity, I had just had enough of it. So I broke off this 4-year relationship. And that's where the 5 phases of dating came from. Because I didn't want to put my heart into anything else and get it broken again. So I said, well, let me take the warm and fuzzy out of dating. Let me approach it like a project.
Okay.
In phases. Right? So phase 1 is, friendship. Phase 2 is dating, non-committed. Phase 3 is dating, committed. Phase 4 is engagement. And phase 5 is marriage.
Okay.
And then as I started to look at, my life and what I had learned during my research, what I heard from the guys, I started putting together things to look for in each phase. Now, the original version of this book I wrote in 2005.
Okay.
I updated the book for grown-ass women this time, adding, additional things, editing things. And then there's starts on page, I think it's 136. But it starts on page, it does. It starts on page 137. I'm providing several different, I guess you could say, experiences that a woman can have in relationships. Okay. And in one column, there's the way a grown-ass woman would, a woman would handle it. And then in this column is the way a grown-ass woman would handle it.
Okay.
So there's, how women say, I'm a grown-ass woman. Don't nobody do this. I'm a grown-ass woman. Okay, well, let's see, how did you handle that, right? So getting women to understand the difference. A grown-ass woman, she's still a woman. A woman is still, I still give her just due. But when you've gone through some stuff and you've had some experiences in your life and you grow through that to the other side, that's a grown-ass woman. Okay. When you can look at a situation and you're not so caught up in feelings from the past that you throw every feeling and thought that you had that you should have said in that last relationship, now you're throwing it on this one and it's not warranted. It's too much for the situation. A grown-ass woman has taken the time to grow through those things. She's taken the time to really get comfortable and really understand from a deeper perspective why she made those choices so that she can make better choices going forward. So I just show the difference in the back in the chart between, there's like 4, maybe 12, 13 pages of different scenarios and how a woman would handle it and then how a grown-ass woman would handle it. Okay. So that book, updated from 2005 to 2018. And then it just kicked off like this whole process, accepting where I am right now in menopause. I'm like, you know what? I don't have time. One, I'm going through too many bodily changes. I'm sweating. I can't control this mess. It's like going through puberty all over again, right? I don't have time for the nonsense. My patience is short. I just don't have it anymore. So all this, I'm a grown-ass woman. Okay, then let's just make that the focus of the business. There's a grown-ass woman experience. There's the grown-ass couples experience, the grown-ass singles experience, the grown-ass, there's everything grown. Now we're going to be grown. At this point, going through all of this, I'm grown. I'm fully grown now, right? Going through this puberty thing. So let me talk to women from this grown-ass woman perspective. I'm not sugarcoating anything anymore. There's no more people pleasing. Either you like it or you don't.
You don't. That's it.
It's whatever it is, right? I'm just not doing it. So that was the first question. Did I answer the second question?
The second question was, okay, how did you overcome the challenge? And then it was, how do you practice good self-care? Oh wait, but before you start, and I didn't realize it. And Valerie, I'm so sorry. It's just that on the screen here, I don't see the comments, and I don't normally use Zoom, so I do apologize. Valerie joined us, Valerie Gilchrist.
Okay.
And I want to thank you so much for joining us. And I'm so sorry I didn't acknowledge you sooner. But a couple of Valerie's comments is, yes, I had to do that work for myself so I could heal from the past hurts while growing up.
Good girl, Valerie.
Transparency is key in order to really help people.
Mm-hmm.
What actually makes sense is people are people, and yeah. So I just wanted to acknowledge that Valerie had joined us.
Thank you,
Because I went to do
Valerie.
something on there and I said, oh my God, there's comments. So let me just, acknowledge you. Thank you so much for joining. And I was gonna say something else. Oh, I know. I just wanted to ask you, okay, so you kind of cycled around. So like you said, you had the bad marriage. Then you said, okay, well, why let me try the other side. So you tried
Mm-hmm.
the other side. And it was some of the similar problems and so forth
Right.
as you see in heterosexual couples. And then so you said, so that relationship was like 4 years. And
Right.
so what now what do you, because I noticed you have on a ring, so now you're
Yes.
remarried. Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. I totally forget. I don't know. I always forget to bring in that side of the story, right? So at the end of, let me complete that before I go to the self-care. So at the end of, that whole time, even after 2005, I still, stayed in the game until about 2007. Now, the last relationship I had, I was in that relationship by title only for about a year and a half, because maybe like 2 months into it, I was like, this really isn't, I'm not sure that this is where I want to be, but it was convenient, so I stayed in it. Now, the thing about that is when I go to do presentations and when people ask me questions, I can't in good faith, one, I'm not going to lie. And two, I can't in good faith talk about you should do something if I'm not doing it. So then my spirit started to vex me. I started to get vexed. And it wasn't like, okay, you need to, you're going to hell and oh my God. It wasn't none of that. What it was, okay, you're telling people that they need to really sit down and figure out what they want. I need you to do that. I was like, okay. So I took the 2005 copy of my book, and I sat down and I went through the exercises. And by this time, I had started a meditation practice, right? Because it was very helpful in helping me to stay centered, stay focused. So I would always, I'm really big on visualization. So I would always visualize what I wanted, like the feeling that I wanted. Because again, if I tap back into my metaphysical side, it's not just what you say you want. It's not just what looks good on paper, or on a dating app now. It's not just that, but it's what you feel, genuinely feel coming back from that person. So I had in my head, once I wrote out, and in my book, you'll see there are 3 lists, right? There's the must-haves, the things you can compromise on, and the hell no's, okay? So once I got clear on all 3 of those things, in the beginning of the book, it's called internal groundwork. So you go through the list, you make your list, you create like the day in the life of your perfect relationship, and then there's a vocabulary lesson, and that vocabulary lesson is what I touched on a little bit in the beginning, where one client mentioned the word honest, and we had to dig deeper. So that exercise is to help you dig deeper to the personality traits and the character traits that you say you wanted. When I put all those together, I realized, now while I love women and I appreciate women, I can't do women.
Okay.
They're just too much for me. The whole emotional it's just way too much. Their emotions, my emotions, too much, right? I'm just not. I can't. So I said, you know what? What it looks like is that in order for me to have the quality of life, love, and not have my nerves be frayed on a regular basis, I need to date men.
Okay.
So I didn't go looking for a man, but what I did, once I realized that a man would better suit the life that I wanted to live, I started envisioning what I wanted him to feel like.
What you wanted him to feel like.
What I wanted him to feel like, not physically feel like, but energetically feel like.
Okay.
Right. So I went back and I did my own exercise of the day in the life of the, perfectly authentic relationship. And that is, you just start, I'll give it to you now. You just start from if you guys are in the same house, you picture yourself in the same house, whether it's the 2 of you bought it together, you're married, whatever. That's not my business, but however you want to play it out. But you start from the time you wake up in the morning together to the time that you go to bed. You don't give this person a name, right? Because it shouldn't be someone that you're currently with. You don't want to, and I'm all about, giving people free will. So you don't give you don't give this person a name, but you just give them, you want to talk about how they feel. Maybe something like, oh, it warms my heart to wake up to the smell of bacon, right? Or I can smell coffee. He always knows he has my coffee ready with my favorite creamer. That whole thing, whatever your wish list is. And my thing, when I tell my clients, nobody's going to see this but you and I. So you just put it all out there. To me, this list, the 3 lists that you're creating, and this day in the life, to me, is like it's like an order that you're placing, right, with the universe. So if you want to use universe, you can. You want to use God, higher power, it's up to you. But it's like an order that you're placing. So you want to make sure that you get this order right. It's important to do that. If you ask for steak and potatoes at a restaurant, they bring you a rare steak and some rare potatoes, you're going to be mad. And they're going to say, well, this is what you asked for. You just asked for steak and potatoes. You didn't say you wanted it cooked, how you wanted it cooked. You didn't say if you wanted fries or mash or baked. So you need to be clear. So that's what I help my clients do, to get clear. So I had to do that for myself. Once I did that, I started I love the water. So I started having this recurring vision. I would go to sleep thinking this way, thinking about this and the energy and how it would feel in his arms and what he would say and how he would talk to me. Kid you not. I'm in school, going back to complete my degree, and I'm in class with this guy, now my husband, and our teacher put us on the same team. I get to see him in his element. He gets to see me in my element. I had just broken up with, maybe 7 months ago, with this woman. So I had not dated a man before I started connecting with him. So we're playing, back and forth. You know how you do the cute little flirting thing. I didn't care. I didn't want anything from him, right? And he and I were having fun. So that was in November when that class was over. We didn't connect and go out on a date until February the next year.
Okay.
We've been together ever since.
Wow. And that was what year?
That was, I think it was 2008.
Wow. That is amazing.
It was so amazing. I'm going to tell you how I felt. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be one of those chicks the first guy that walks up and he has one of these things. I'm gonna be like, oh my God, God sent me my husband. That's my husband. I was like, no, been down this road, not doing that again. But I promise you, when one day it was raining and he walked me to the train, and I had one umbrella and he was walking me to the train. He was holding the umbrella. I was like, do you mind if I hold your arm? He was like, no, I don't mind at all. I put my arm, put my hand around his arm. That was the arm that I had been feeling. That was the feeling, the energetic feeling in my visualization. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is a arm like the one in my vision. I didn't say this is the arm, right? Because we still had to go through the getting to know you process. But I can promise you that having gone through that whole process on my own, having experienced all that I had experienced, by the time we started dating, I was 100% authentic. I was able to be myself. And women are like, oh my God, I would never tell a man that I love him, before he told me. I had to. Here's why. I love the way I felt when I was with him, right? It wasn't even about me being in love with him. I wasn't in love, but I loved him. I loved how he treated me. I loved how he handled me. So every time when I get ready to get off the phone, I'd be like, okay, all right, well, have a good, I'll talk to you next time. Then the next time I talk to him on the phone, I want to say I love you when I get off the phone, but I can't, because women aren't supposed to tell guys that they love them first. And I was like, you know what? I got to tell you something. He was like, okay. I was like, look, I don't need you to say anything back to me. I don't want you to say anything back to me. I just want you to allow me to speak my truth, and then just let me be me. Okay? And he's looking at me like, okay, you've already told me that you used to date women. I said, I don't have a problem with that. Why are you tripping? So I looked at him and I was like, look, I love you. I love who I am when I'm with you. I love, you know, the way that you treat me. I love how respectful you are. I love, you know, all of these things. So as I'm telling him this, he's looking, he's like just looking, not barely blinking, but just looking like, oh my God, this girl's gonna freak out if I don't say it back. And I make sure I tell him, don't say anything. I don't want you to say anything because I don't want you to feel obligated. This isn't for you. This is for me. Because I need to be 100% myself. When I get off the phone, I don't want to have to stop myself from saying what I want to say. I don't need you to love me back. I just need you to know that I love the person that you are. And it was like, I don't even remember how much longer after that. It was a couple of months. I got ready to get off the phone. I was like, okay, I love you. He said, I love you too. And I was getting ready to hang up. I was like, wait, what? What'd you say? He said, I love you too. I was like, wait. Okay, let's try this again. Let's do this all over again because I was rushing to get off the phone and I missed it. I was like, okay, I love you. He said, I love you too. I was like, oh my God, you love me. Oh my God, you love me. But I didn't need him. I was at a point in my life where I didn't need him to love me back. And if we had broken up for whatever reason, I would have been totally okay with that because I had finally got to the point where I was a grown-ass woman. I was comfortable enough in my own skin where I could be honest about what was going on with me without needing him to respond in a certain way.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's pause briefly. I want to acknowledge Diane. Thank you for joining us. And Miss Tokara, thank you so much for joining us. And y'all, if you guys have to go back and and do the replay, okay? So you can hear from the beginning. But thank you, ladies, for joining us. Okay, so I don't want you to feel rushed during your topic, but let's go into your topic. And if there is time, then you could tell us, well, the other questions were, well, how do you practice good self-care? Mm-hmm. Tell us something interesting about you. I think you might have touched on that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. What advice would you give to a younger version of yourself? So go ahead and announce your topic and, talk, let us go through that. You don't have to feel rushed. And then if there's time, then you can, answer one of those other questions. Okay. And then, of course, at the end, to tell us exactly how they can reach you.
Okay. So why don't I just go ahead and group the questions into my response because it's all a part of it anyway, right? So the topic is how to be 100% authentic in your relationships. And I think I've been touching on it throughout tonight's broadcast because in order to be 100% authentic in all of your relationships, first you got to be 100% real with yourself, right? You have to tap into the spirit of who you are, not who you've been for other people, not who you've been for your children, not who you show up as at your church or at your work. You got to get really, really deep and figure out what are the things that make you tick? What are the things that make you happy? What does happiness look like? What does happiness look like in your life? What does it look like in your relationships? Hell, what does it look like in your friendships? Right? Because sometimes we're friends with people because we've been friends with them for so long, but they really add no value to our life whatsoever. But we feel obligated because you've known this girl since grammar school, and you keep dragging her behind along, hoping that every time you take her to an event that she's going to pick up something, she's going to get, some good vibes, and she's going to stop being negative, and this chick is going to be who she is forever, right? So you need to know that. You need to recognize. It doesn't mean that you have to cut her from your life, but you do have to determine how much time you're going to give her, right? I don't have it on me right now. I was going to show you, there's an exercise that I give people called an energy wheel. And this energy wheel, you determine all the different things that you're giving energy to in your life and whether or not, what you need to reduce. So part of being authentic is one, knowing who you are, identifying what makes you happy, what doesn't make you happy, making a list of those things or find one woman that you admire. She can be a celebrity, she can be alive, she can be dead. She can be your neighbor. She could be your best friend. It doesn't matter. But what are the qualities that you admire in that person? And if there's something that you really, really admire, then why not develop those qualities within yourself? Sometimes in order to move or to grow, you have to pull up the weeds in other areas of your life, right? In order for you to plant seeds, sometimes you have to pull up and make room by pulling out the weeds. So you need to, whether you work with a coach or whether you do it on your own, especially if you are in the, I say in the menopausal phase, because this is where I am right now. But you need to do a life review. Even before I got here, I would encourage my clients, and then I do it the same. I would do it like every 3 to 6 months. I do a life review, and I'd review these areas. You look at your finances. You look at in your relationships. You look at your health. You look at your spiritual, and then you look at your education. Right? You look at all those areas. What are you doing in those 5 areas that you like, that you want to keep doing? What are you not doing that you would like to start doing in those 5 areas? And then make a determination as to how you're going to move forward. Okay,
What are the
so
5
if you
areas?
finances, relationships, health, spiritual, and educational. Oh, and there's another one, recreational.
Recreation.
So you look at those 6 areas and you try to determine, okay, where am I right now, right? Where am I in this moment in my life? Where am I? And then within each of those topics, you have, you're going to cover certain things. Under relationships, it could be friendships, it could be work relationships, it could be, intimate relationships. It could be family relationships. So you take a look at all of those. Under finances, it could be, your checking account, your savings. It could be your investments if you have it. If it could be your credit card bills. Where are you now? What is your outlook? Where do you want to be, and what do you need to get there? I've always been that person. And so when you do that and you start being real with yourself, not just on the top or on the surface, I'm all about digging deeper, right? So if you have these 12 friendships and they're not working, all of them are not working for you, what is it? Write down what you're getting from each one of them and how important that is to you right now in your life. Because being able to have this friend that you could go to the club with all the time, who would, stay out till 6 o'clock in the morning, y'all go out clubbing it, then you go get breakfast, then you go to the mall. That person, if that person is still doing that and you're no longer, that's not where you are, then maybe this isn't a person that you need to be spending a whole lot of time with. If you're married, are all of your friends single, right? And you're hanging out with a bunch of single friends. One, that's going to, not to say that you're going to do anything, but that's going to put you in some situations that you probably should not or do not want to be in. And 2, if you're not surrounding yourself with other married couples who have been together longer than you and who have a lot more experience that could provide, some guidance for you, then you're out here. If all your married friends are married within the same amount of time that you have, then you really don't have an opportunity to grow, right? So sometimes you can't always be the smartest person in the room. You have to go and sit at the feet of someone else, right? So you look at each area and then you dive deeper into each area. And then you decide, once you look at where you are, where you want to be, then you look at how are you showing up. So for an example would be, if you're working at a job and you say you want to get promoted to manager, this is where you are. You're a team member now. You want to be a manager. How are you showing up? Are you showing up as a team member? You always hanging with the team, or are you showing up like a person who's trying to learn more things so that you can get to a management position? So in order to show up authentically, you have to see and you have to know what you're showing up as for yourself. What is it that you're doing now? Where do you want to be? What's the gap in between? How do you fill that gap? And what are you presenting? Right? Because especially with the work, if you're going into the office and there was a time where I was working for Allstate. There was in the lobby, they had these televisions that were on the financial channels through most of the day until 12 o'clock when all my children came on. there was 6 African Americans that would sit down and change the channel on the televisions and would watch all my children and eat lunch together. Every time I walked by, they'd be like, "Girl, you should come and eat lunch with us. You should come and sit down with, with the crew," because there weren't very many of us in the building. But I was like, "Oh, you know what? I have to take lunch earlier because I have to be back at my desk." I didn't have to take lunch earlier, but I didn't want to get pigeonholed into that group and to be seen. Not that I didn't want to be seen with my people, but my people didn't have aspirations, the same type of aspirations that I did. So I ate when the managers ate. I ate when the officers ate so that they could see me and I could have the conversations, right? So that's a way to, look at it from work perspective. Now, when you look at your relationships, when you look at, let's say your marriage, let's say right now, your marriage is a little rocky. You guys have been together, for so long where everything is routine, right? It doesn't even have to be rocky. It could just be, yeah, this is what we do every day. We have the same routine every day. But you want the same type of connection that you see, Karen and her husband with over there. Then figure out what Karen is doing. What is Karen doing and her husband doing that's different than what you're doing? Do you need to read a book? Do you need to take a class? Do you need to, is your body changing to the degree that you no longer feel sexy in your body, and so you're no longer showing up like you're comfortable in your own skin in your house, right? We get comfortable. I don't have it here with me, but I had it on this morning. I have a hoodie. The holes are out, right? The elbows are out. I got holes in the elbows. The thumb holes are frayed, but it's my favorite hoodie. My husband knows it's my favorite hoodie. But that's not, I don't wear it all the time, right? I could because it's comfortable. It's broken in, right? It has the nice air-conditioned holes in it. But I know that if I want to keep my marriage fresh, and if I want to keep my husband's eyes right here, then I need to care about what this is looking like. I need to be comfortable in my own skin, and I need to be comfortable enough to do those things that the average woman wouldn't do. Grown-ass woman is totally fine with taking a pole dancing class, right? Doesn't mean she has to go out there and get on the pole. But a pole dancing class teaches her how to move her body and how to, use her body in ways that she didn't know. Plus, it's a hell of a workout. It is a total body workout for sure. Girl, I tried. I look like a linebacker trying to go around that pole. I was like, oh my God, I look like a linebacker trying to, what happened? I used to be so, so I could be so fluid and so dainty. Girl, please. I look like a linebacker going around that pole. I had to learn how to bring it down, take the stuffiness and the tightness out of it and learn how to relax. But it was fun for me, right? It was fun. It was something. And just going to a class like that helps to reignite your self-esteem and your self-confidence. You never have to go out there and be a pole champion. But now you know how to move a little differently. Now you know how to move a little differently in the pole. That means you can move a little differently in the bedroom.
You know what does it for me, just real quick. If y'all hearing a lot of feedback from me, let me know, because I got my headphones on now. But salsa. Salsa.
Salsa is sexy.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I like salsa. Yes, that's sexy. But it's something, right? It's moving. It's movement, moving your body. We get very comfortable in our marriages. We get very comfortable. There was a point, and to be flat out honest with you, where I was like, okay, yes, my husband is supportive of me. He is very supportive of me, always has been. But that doesn't mean that there are times when I'm in here in my office working where he would prefer me to be out with him spending time. Now, of course, he's such a sweet guy. He's not going to say it because he knows I'm in here trying to get my business, moving and train a team and do all things like that. But as his wife, I have to recognize that. My husband will never say anything negative. He would never try to squash anything. But just because he wouldn't doesn't mean he's not feeling it. So I have to make sure, as a woman who is driven, that I make my husband feel like he comes first, right? For a while there, I was behaving like a businesswoman who happened to be married when I had to flip that around. And when I realized that, I was like, oh no, I'm a married woman who happens to have a business, not a businesswoman who happens to be married. And when you make sure that you stay, focused on what's really important, especially if you have a mate that is supportive of you and helps support your dreams, you don't ever want them to feel second. So when I recognize that it's a possibility that I could be doing this, immediately I turn that around. Okay. So it's important to know what to look for. Like, how do you realize this? And how do you recognize the signs? That's important too. But if you don't have women in your life to help you with that, you don't have women in your life that have walked that road before you, you're out here, making mistakes left and right and learning after the fact. So taking care of yourself as an individual, not just, your surroundings and your marriage. I always make sure that I have quiet time. So I've converted a part of my closet into what I call my beauty station. So it's my beauty inside and out. The first couple, and I'll post a picture under this so you guys can see it. But the first couple of shelves are for my makeup. I bought this cute little makeup, like not the big one, not that huge one, the mirror with all the Hollywood lights on it. It's a small one that could fit in this space. And I have my makeup there. I do my makeup there. My son bought me a chair for it, so I have that. And then on the shelves beneath it is my spiritual place. So I have my prayer box there. I have my Bible there. I have my journal. I have my candles. I have my little yoga lady, and then I have my mat in there. So this is it's a pretty good size closet. This is all of my closet. It's a walk-in closet. It's a pretty good size closet. But I take time in there, right? I go in there like in the mornings if I wake up in the middle of the night, which I do because my brain is always on. And these hot flashes will wake me up and then I can't get back to sleep. So instead of fussing and cussing, I just go in there and spend some time, in prayer and in meditation. And I also try to make sure that I get a monthly massage, right? You need to do body work. Body work is very helpful in moving the energy and releasing the toxins. I also have it's a portable sauna. It's one that I got off of Amazon. You could fold it up and put it in a closet. So it's not, don't get too excited. It's not the real big one where you walk in with the cedar wood. No, it's a little material thing with a little director's chair. I'll post a link for that too, so you guys can see it. But I love sitting in there and just sweating out the toxin. So for me, that's also a way of releasing, letting go. I use every opportunity I can when it's just me to not only release the physical, but to release the mental and the emotional. And for me, as I'm sweating out, the toxins, I feel like I'm letting go of all the negativity. I'm letting go of everything that didn't work well for the day. And it just makes me feel so much better. Now I've gone to keep me from stressing about my hair, I've gone natural. Me and my hair and my perm, my creamy crack, we were in love, girl. We were in love. We've been together for some years, but I had to divorce the creamy crack because I can't keep my hair together. And yes, my hair has to be together, but I can't keep it together if I'm always sweating with the perm. So now my thing is I'm enjoying the process of learning my texture, learning my, what products work on my hair. The shrinkage I'm not too crazy about, but I'm letting it, do what it's doing while it's growing out. And as it grows out, then that'll be different. But I'm having a good time with it. So just get to know yourself, right? Get to know yourself. What is it that makes you tick? What makes you happy? What sort of pampering could you do for yourself? And you can ask your husband for a massage when it's going to lead to something else. My husband cannot touch me massage-wise and give a good massage without getting sidetracked. And then I get irritated because all I want is a massage. So to keep from that being a frustrating experience, I just go pay for the massage that I want. Don't be afraid to do it. And if you have insurance, your insurance may even cover it, right? So we can't say, I don't have money. Check and look and see if your insurance will cover it. It may cover most of it. You may have a $25 copay. And shoes. I love shoes.
I can
Those are
tell.
my things. I love shoes. Oh my gosh, I love me some shoes.
Because you know, do you hear feedback when I talk? Okay, it's better
No.
now. I saw
Mm-mm.
something you posted recently, and the pattern in your shoes matched the pattern in your clothes. I
Yes.
said, look at her.
Yes, girl.
Look at Miss Naomi.
Yes. And I bought the shoes like a month or 2 months ago. I had bought the outfit for the award ceremony. So I bought the shoes 2 months ago. And then the week, like 2 days before the ceremony, I had to find an outfit to match the shoes. And I did. It was perfect. Oh, I
It
love some
was, it
shoes.
was, it was nice. It was really nice.
Thank you.
So I know we're closely approaching our time. So you talk to us about how you make sure you practice self-care on a regular basis.
Hmm.
Um, I guess lastly, what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself?
Oh, to not be a people pleaser.
Okay.
Being a people pleaser leads you to do and be involved, get involved in things that you really don't care to do, but you don't want to hurt the other person. You don't let the other person down. And so you tend to spend a lot of your time, your life, until you finally get the picture, doing things out of obligation, doing things because you want to be liked. And it's really not, it's not about that. Life is not about people pleasing. When you are a people pleaser, other people can recognize that. And it's very easy for someone to take advantage of you, take advantage of what they consider or you consider to be your kindness. But honestly, sweetheart, it's not really, this is what I would have said to me. Girl, it's not kindness, right? You're doing it because there's a part of you that feels like you won't be liked if you didn't do it. So I need you to sit your tail down and to think about this for a minute. What is it that you feel like you won't be liked about? And the reason why I chose this one is because for years, I wouldn't openly talk about the fact that I dated women. For years, I wouldn't openly, it wasn't until like 2 years ago that I started sharing publicly that I was a victim of domestic violence. Even though my private clients knew it and the women that were in my courses knew it, I wasn't sharing it publicly so that everybody knew it.
I have a question. What about your family? Like your brother, did you talk to, did they know?
My
Okay.
brother knew. Yes, my brother knew. My brother was not, my brother, my mother, my father didn't know. He was gone. I didn't get a lot of support.
Okay.
I did not get a lot of support. So I had to source my own, support. That's when I started having, what do we call it? Extended family, right? And I found that friends that have been with me through thick and thin, I have friends that are closer to me and I'm closer to than I am to members of my own family. I have, what was so wonderful for me was that my children accepted me. Right? My children accepted me and they didn't care as long as I was happy, right?
And
As long as they didn't.
how old are you had two sons.
I do.
And how
I have
old are they?
my oldest will be 30 and my youngest just turned 25. And then I have a bonus daughter who will be 21, I think. 21? No, 21, yeah, in April. So those are my children. But my boys, they didn't care. I was mom. As long as mom was happy, that's all they cared about. And then, my husband, they absolutely love my husband. And he's like, a second dad to them. Real cool. He's such a great guy. Yes, I'm saying that because I'm married to him, but he really is a great guy. So I want everybody, to know that for years I hid behind the reality or truth of who I was because I wanted people to like me. I didn't want people, to say, oh my God, why is she talking to us about relationships when she used to date women? I'm the perfect person to talk to you about relationships since I dated women because I got all the inside scoop from the man. So I know what they're looking for. I know what their tricks are. I know how you go out to the club, you think you're putting forth this energy, but they can read right through it. So now I'm the person to tell you, girl, don't do that. You think that's cute, but you think this is what you're putting out, but this is what is actually happening, right? So do not be a people pleaser. Figure out who you are, continue. I'm always constantly evolving. I'm looking at myself, I'm looking at my life, I'm looking at those around me, I'm looking at the interactions that I have. I'm in the process right now of restructuring my business, changing logos, changing content, retiring content, creating new content. We are constantly evolving. And the one thing that I'm the most proud about in this moment is my new podcast, girl. Mindful Menopause for Grown-Ass Women. I am so excited about this podcast because just like I'm talking to you, this is how I'm talking on the podcast.
Okay.
And I am sharing those things that we tend to take for granted or we were not told as women. So it's like you listening to, while you're going to work or while you're doing housework, it's like you listening to your Aunt Mabel in the background telling you what it's like and what it's like being a woman, and the truth about being the spiritual and emotional aspects of our cycles that we were never taught. Eventually I just started it. I think it's been a month. Okay. And it's already on 7 platforms. And I've only had, I don't know how many people listen to it, not a whole lot of listeners, but it's on 7 platforms, including iTunes. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm so excited about that because I'm being right now in this space. I think I'm more authentic and more real than I have ever been.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And while I think that the hot flashes are annoying, because I had 2 while I'm sitting here with you, they truly, I understand now why women quit their jobs as CEOs and CFOs and sell everything and go sell blankets in alpaca. I get it.
You get it now, right?
I get it. It's like, you know what? Because we've lived our lives for everybody else for so long. And when we get to this point and we start having these body changes and these mood changes and all of this, and everybody's still expecting us to be the same person we were, and we realize, you know what, this is my time, this is for me, then we start, I get it now, I get it. So I'm trying to stop women from having to wait until menopause to really connect with and really learn how to nurture themselves once a month. Right. Your cycle, if you're still having a cycle, that is the time where, back in the huts, women would go to this one hut and they would all have their cycles, well, not cycles together, but when they were on their cycles, they would go into this hut. Inside the hut were other women who at the same time were having their cycles, or the elder women who were there to help nurture on them, right? To help nurture. And that was a community where they could go and they could get away from, working the land or taking care of the kids. They could go in here for 7 days and be loved on and have community with other women, and they could talk about their problems and all this. So they had that time. This was a sacred time for them. And then they were able to go back into, their villages and do what they needed to do and be the mothers that they needed to be for their kids and the wives that they needed to be for their husbands, because they took those 7 days for themselves. So, but we're taught our periods are bad. Oh my God, Aunt Flo is coming, right? Oh, what am I going to do? I'm having, girl, what's going on? I got cramps. It's like your cramps are there trying to tell you something. So I'm going to start talking about and this is the metaphysical side coming out, the spiritual and the emotional aspects of your cycles, the spiritual reasons for fibroids, why we get them, and how we can naturally help lessen the severity of them, shrink them, or, natural ways in which we can help deal with them. Just a lot of things that I haven't really talked about because, I was hiding, didn't want to seem too woo-woo for certain people. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And you know what? And that's so prevalent within African-American community. I mean, I could just name off probably about 5 or 6 different friends or cousins or associates that have, fibroids.
Yes.
So that's very, very common. So yeah, so just, I know ladies, we're wrapping up again. You've joined us for A Queen's Roundtable show, which happens every second and fourth Sunday of the month. If you are interested in being a guest, I will, go to my Facebook page and you can get the link, or I'll post it again. So that way you can apply. But at any rate, it was so much fun talking to you. I mean, just a lot of fun, and you shared a lot of great information. And thank you for being so open, with us and sharing sharing a lot of your experiences. So tell them again, I guess, leave them maybe your website, and also too, just put it in the comments and I can take it and post it as well. But I don't want to give them a link to your website, or, what is it that you want to share with them in terms of how to, get in contact with you if they want to link up with you?
Okay. I had a great time too. Thank you so much for, I know in the beginning when I made that comment about the psychology field, I know I was like, okay, I'm not trying to, no shade at all, but this has been my experience. So thank you so much for being, open and a good sport with that comment. I really had a great time. You can find me like anywhere on social media by my first name and my last name. My website is, www.anitacharlot.com. That's the website I'm going to give you. And then from that website, there are buttons where you can you branch off into the other things that I'm doing. Currently, I don't have Mindful Menopause for Grown-Ass Women on there, but you can search for Mindful Menopause for Grown-Ass Women. It's on Spotify. It's on Anchor. Anchor is the home base for the podcast. It's on Anchor. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes. It's on other Google Podcasts. It's on other things I don't even know. I've never even heard of, but it's out there. If you go to Anchor, anchor.fm/GAW Mindful Menopause. That's for grown-ass women. But GAW Mindful Menopause, and I will put all the links underneath this recording. You can sign up there. If you go to the Anchor, if you go to the home base, which is the anchor.fm, if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions, if you have any show topics that you'd like for me to talk about, you can leave me a voicemail directly through the anchor.fm website. And if it is, you want to share your story based on something that is that resonates with the show that I did, I'm happy to play that in the show and let others hear that they're not the only ones that are experiencing this. I'm not the only one that has experienced it, but here are some experiences from our listeners as well. So I'm happy to do that. And if you want to stay in touch with me and join the list so that you can keep up with everything that is happening, I'll give you the bit.ly link, and it's very easy to remember. It's bit.ly/girl don't forget about me. Okay, bit.ly/girl don't forget about me. So you shouldn't forget that. And if you sign up, then you won't be left out of, any upcoming events, any new classes. Sometimes I'll send out like a bonus class for my list only. I do have men on my list too, so I have to be clear and say for men only. But I'll either send out, do a free class for them, or invite them to something, give them a deep discount code for their support for being on the list. And if you join the list, then you'll learn a lot more about the upcoming Keeping It Sexy Challenge. I haven't scheduled that yet, but it is coming in fourth quarter, as well as the grand opening of the Mindful Menopause for Grown-Ass Women monthly membership.
Okay. Excellent. I put in your website, but put the other links in, because I have a podcast too. So what I do is, after we record this, I take it and I put it on there, and I like to make sure that I have the links, and then it goes on my YouTube, and I like to make sure I have the links for that too. So before you forget, make sure you put them in. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Again, every second and fourth Sunday of the month, you can join myself, Jacqueline Harrison, and another entrepreneur that's coming to share their experiences as well as their expertise. So everyone have a wonderful rest of your Sunday afternoon. And thank you again for joining us. And thank you so much, Anita, for being here. I had a
You're
lot of fun.
welcome. All right. Thanks.
Okay,
Take
everyone
care,
take care.
everyone. Thanks for watching.